Hi, I'm Barney from the Good Food Cookery team, and here I'm going to show you how to French trim a rack of lamb, and then I'm going to run you through a few other cuts you get from the rack. I've got a whole rack of lamb. This is a beautiful cut that's sometimes called best end or best end of neck. This is what it looks like untrimmed, but for neat presentation or for neater chops or cutlets, you need to trim off the top layer of fat. Here's one I prepared earlier. It's been beautifully French trimmed, so as you can see the bones have been exposed and they've been cleaned, so this is what we're trying to get to. First, we need to cut the fat away from the bones, but still leaving a layer of fat over the eye of the meat. So the way to do this is to make a notch at either end, about 4 centimetres down from the top of the bone. So make a notch here, make a notch there, then just join the two together. So one cut going down against the bone, and then working in a sweeping movement against the bone, we're just going to trim the fat off to expose the bones. So now I've exposed the bone, I just need to clean them up. So we're just going to cut away any excess fat, and then we're going to cut out the meat from between each of the bones. This is where it's particularly important to use a short, stubby boning knife, because the knife needs to be solid and not flexible, so you can really cut against the bones. And then what we're going to do is just cut between each of the bones to remove this thin bit of meat, and this is where you can really start seeing the rack taking shape. So just carry on between all 8 bones. So now it's just a matter of using the knife against the bone and just scraping off the meat and fat from each bone. Now all the bones are clean. What we've got left to do is we just want to remove this layer of skin from the layer of fat that's covering the eye of the meat. So we just need to cut that away, but it should come away quite easily in your fingers or in your hands. You just need to ease it with a knife. That just exposes the white fat. Just peeling it away as you cut. We just cut it off at the end. And there we have our rack of lamb French trimmed and ready to roast. Now that's the whole rack, and next I'm going to show you how to cut it into chops. So there's a tough tendon called the paddywhack, which you just want to cut away. Now cutting it into chops couldn't be any easier. You just cut between the bones. There you have lovely lamb chops with a nice layer of fat. Or if you want them extra trimmed, you can remove this layer of fat. So just like we did before, just to expose the eye of the meat. Then you cut your chops really thick, so it's kind of like a double chop. And then you're just left with a chop which has the eye of the meat, which you want to squash down. And these chops are now being called lollipops. So there, just trim this meat up. We've got lots of ways to French trim and butcher a rack of lamb.